नमो ओम भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास गौरभक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। I pay my obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. I express all my gratitude and make many prayers to the Prabhupada for having given us, all of us, a golden opportunity to go back to Godhead. All goes to Srila Prabhupada for his wonderful devotional services to Srimati Radharani and Gopinath. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. जोर से बोलिए। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 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 Hare Krishna, we are doing Bhagavath Katha. It is in English generally. If anybody does not understand, I shall translate it to Hindi. Please raise your hand if you require. I can do it in Telugu also. We are in the first canto, 5th chapter. Today we are doing 8th verse. In the 7th verse yesterday, Vysadeva Bhagavan was addressing to the Narada Maharshi to enter into his Atma, inner body, and find out what is the deficiency in his compilation of the Bhagavatham. He was making the inquiries because Vyasa Bhagavan himself is having full knowledge, but otherwise, since he is very preoccupied in the compilation of this one, he asked Narada Maharshi to identify the deficiencies, if any, so that to be made easy for the people to understand during the coming Kali Yuga, he tells. So today, Narada Vacha, he replies to the inquiry of Sri Narada Maharshi. I shall repeat this verse 3 times. Please repeat with me, and thereafter I do the narration. भवतानुदिता प्रायं यशो भगवतो अमलं येनैवासौ न तुष्यते मन्ये तद् दर्शनं। भवतानुदिता प्रायं यशो भगवतो अमलं येनैवासौ न तुष्यते मन्ये तद्दर्शनं किलं। भवतानुदिता प्रायं यशो भगवतो अमलं येनैवसौ न तुष्येते मन्ये तद्दर्शनं किलं। भवतानुदिता प्रायं यशो भगवतो अमलं येनैवासौ न तुष्येत मन्ये तद्दर्शनं किलं अकिलं। The word-to-word meaning of this verse is Sri Narada Vacha said, Bhavata by you, Anudita Prayam also not praised, Yashaha glories, Bhagavataha of the personality of Godhead, Amalam spotless, Yena by which, Yeva certainly, Asau he the personality of Godhead, Na does not, Tusyeta be pleased, Manye I think, Tat that, Darshanam philosophy, Kilam inferior. Sri Narada said, to Vyasadeva's Bhagwan. You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of Lord is considered worthless. In response to the inquiry, recognizing the deficiencies in Vyasa Bhagwan, he told that this philosophy does not satisfy the transcendental senses of Lord. So, if that is not considered, the Lord is considered as worthless. So he asked him to explain the transcendental senses of the Lord. The eternal relations of an individual soul with Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead is consciously one being the external servitor of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Lord has taken earlier many incarnations in different forms, like a fish form, a tortoise form, a wild boar form. Also he has taken the form of a human being, like Vamana, Parashurama, Rama and Krishna. This is meant for understanding, to accept the services of the living beings to offer to him. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord as the living beings. Because the people who are living during the many human beings during the incarnation of Rama and Krishna, they have spent very affectionately along with him for a long time. Such a scholar as Vysadeva has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy, but none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Vedas Bhagwan has divided the one Veda into 4 Vedas, that is Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda and Sama Veda. But also he has compiled the great epic Mahabharata of 60 lakh verses, of which only 1 lakh verses are available in the earth, remaining they are available in different planets. So he has also compiled 18 Puranas and Upapuranas, but none of them did directly glorify the personality of Godhead. So he says this dry philosophical speculations even on the transcendental subject of the Absolute have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. So he says the personality of Godhead is the last word in transcendental realization. For any human being who is having intelligence, he should recognize that the Supreme Lord, and he should dry philosophical speculations even on the transcendental subject of the Absolute have very little attraction without directly within the glorification of the Lord. Hence, every intelligent person should glorify the personality of God first. The personality of God is the last word in the transcendental realization, because the Absolute realized as impersonal Brahmin or Loka Super Soul or Paramatma is less productive of transcendental bliss than the supreme personal realization of his glories. The compiler of Vedanta Darshana is Vyasadeva himself. Yet he is troubled, although he is the author. So that what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva. Because in this Kali Yuga, the people are less intelligent. Any person who reads the philosophical Vedanta can never understand the hidden meaning given in any of the verses. So Vysadeva has not explained it directly. The author, who is the author? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatham by the self-same author. Because the other scriptures, that is Puranas, Upapuranas, the epic and the Vedas, 4 Vedas, they cannot explain directly about the God, cannot glorify them. Narada Maharshi has advised Sri Vedas Bhagavan to compile Srimad Bhagavatam, which purely contains the glories and many of the incarnations. It cannot be all incarnations because there are thousands of incarnations, but at least many of the incarnations are explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. This was told in the earlier chapters by Vedas Bhagavan himself. He said that all incarnations cannot be explained, since it is in thousands of incarnations. We know that only 10 incarnations, that is Dashavatara, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parshurama, Rama, Balarama and Krishna. But otherwise, there are so many incarnations which are not given anywhere in the either Vedas or even Bhagavatam. It is not explained completely. Of course, there are other incarnations explained in this one, like Hamsa Avatara, Ayagra Avatara, Narada Rishis and all those things. Vedas Bhagavan himself is the incarnation of Sri Krishna. As well as when Narada Maharshi is also part of the incarnation of Krishna himself. So, since many thousands of incarnations are there, few of them have been explained in this Bhagavatam. Now we shall continue with the next verse, 9th verse. I shall repeat this verse 3 times. Please repeat with me. Yata dharmadayasya charata muni varya anukritaha na tata vasudevasya mahima hi anuvarnita. Yata dharma adayasya charata muni very ankuritaha na tata vasudevasya mahima hi anuvarnita. Yata dharmadayasya charta muni varya anukritaha na tata vasudevasya mahima hi anuvarnita. Yata dharmasya charta muni varyanukritaha na tata vasudevasya mahima hi anuvarnita. The word meaning of this verse is yata means as much as, dharma adayaha, all 4 principles of religious behavior, cha and arthaha, purposes, munivarya, by yourself, the great sage, anukrititaha, repeatedly described, na, not, tata, in that way, vasudevasya, of personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, mahima, glories, he, certainly, anuvarnitaha, so constantly described. Although the great sage, you have very broadly described the 4 principles, beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of Supreme Personality Vasudeva. The prompt diagnosis of Sri Narada is at once declared. The root cause of the despondency of Vasudeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He has certainly, as a matter of course, given the descriptions of the glories of Lord Sri Krishna, but as many as given to religiously, economic development, sense gratification and salvation. These 4 items are by far inferior to the engagement in the devotional service of Lord. Sri Vysadeva, as the authorized scholar, knew very well this difference. and still instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely the devotional services to the Lord, and thus he was despondent. From this it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially without being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is clearly mentioned. That means a person, here he has to be engaged substantially in devotional service. Means it is not that he has to renunciate everything in this material world and come and take say sannyasa and become a monk. That is never correct. One has to do his own karma duties. While executing his dharma, he need to participate in any satsangs taking place in any temples, Sri Vaishnava temples, and also chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is given by the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is easy to practice during this Kali Yuga time. As since other mantras mentioned by the Vedas, they are controlled by many regulations. Since we can't follow those regulations during the Kali Yuga time, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not have any regulations. It can be chanted 24 hours a day throughout our life. So one need to practice this Mahamantra, because it is also not only that, we need to preach to others the glorifications of these events at our home or in our society or with friends and relatives, and make everybody to understand the Bhagavatham and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's a type of one of the type of devotional service to God. Sri Vysadeva, being the authorized scholar, knew very well the difference. And still, instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely devotional service to the Lord, he had more or less improperly used his valuable time. And thus he was despondent. From this it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially by being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So, as instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 64 rounds. Maybe in present time we may not find that time. At least I advise everybody, all the devotees, to chant Hare Krishna Mantra at least one time on the beat at home or the temple. You can carry the chanting bag along with you wherever you visit, and whenever you find time, you can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Otherwise, if you need not feel shy to carry the chanting bag. Otherwise, if it is any inconvenient to carry the chanting bead along with you, even without chanting bag, you can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra n number of times. It may, if you do like that, it may exceed 64 rounds also in the day. And you can do while bathing at home, while cooking, while having your food, or even while driving your bike or car or traveling the bus. You can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If possible, try to chant loudly so that other people who are accompanying you will also hear to the Mahamantra, and they will be provoked. They will get provocation for doing the chanting of Mahamantra, knowing the good effects it gives. If you are not doing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, initially you try for at least for a month chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and see how much peace you would find in your mind, which is the important thing. Peace of mind is important because it will not, you can keep the mind under control without the attraction of this Rajasa and Tamasa characters from the nature. We should try to, even the Satvika Guna, what is there in the nature, we need to practice it perfectly. It should be Shuddha Satvika. And we should put all efforts to practice this so as to remember at the end of our life and attain the salvation. This we can be doing only when we are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. This is also clearly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. After liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing the religiosity, one is engaged in pure devotional service. This liberation comes only at the end. You can have any number of desires. There is no limitation for the desires in this world. You can have any number of desires to be fulfilled, and you can make all efforts for getting those desires achieved. But at the same time, you also continue for salvation. Because the salvation will only come at the end of our life. Whereas the other desires, they are possible, they are to be achieved only during this lifetime. This is called the stage of self-realization. That means you are identifying yourself as a separate soul and body. And also, along with the soul, Paramatma is also residing within our heart. That is, when you realize the soul and Paramatma within yourself, that stage is called the self-realization or the Brahmabhuta stage. After the attainment of Brahmabhuta stage, one is satisfied, because once he understands who he is, what his ultimate goal should be, then even from the nature he will not be attracted for any other thing, any other materialist things. Of course, we may have to get certain essentials for our living, like food, clothing, shelter. These are required. For that purpose, we may have to work and earn money also, because nothing comes free in this world. Everything is at cost. So, while doing your duties, whatever duty you are doing, whether as a doctor, lawyer or engineer or any other activities, whether it is your own business or industry, while doing everything, you leave the results to you do perform your duties, but leave the results to the God. He knows what to be given at what time. At appropriate time, He would grant us the required thing. But satisfaction is the beginning of transcendental bliss. One should progress by attaining neutrality and equality in the relative world. Here, this we can achieve only by practice. We can't start chanting 64 rounds a day or even 16 rounds a day. We can't do. Initially, we may chant only one round. Like that, we should increase it. Either even if without counting the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra number of times, without counting also you can do the chanting. Chanting is important as a practice to remember God at the end of our life. So, and passing this stage of equanimity, one is fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the instruction of the pursuit of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is directly is the direct instruction of Sri Krishna Paramatma about 5,250 years ago in the battle of Kurukshetra. On the first day of the battle, when Arjuna, he was feeling sad to kill all his enemies, because his enemy side, they were only their grandfathers, uncles, brothers, all relatives and friends. So he never wanted to kill them. It's not that he did not have courage or strength to kill them. He had only had in his mind that by killing his relatives and soul such a large army, which is about 4 crores 60 lakhs, 18,000 Akshohini means it is about 4 crores 60 lakhs, including all assistants who are accompanied to help the army people. So if he starts aiming arrows, with one arrow he can kill many thousand lakhs. And if everybody is killed, not only they will be losing their lives, but he will also be getting sin and will be attaining the hell. He has to go to hell. For that reason, when he questioned Krishna Paramatma, who was his charity, has when Arjuna questioned him, at that time, taking that as a reason, making Arjuna as a nimitta, Krishna Paramatma instructed the Bhagavad Gita, entire Bhagavad Gita. At that time, I do not know whether how much time he has taken, but generally now when we do Bhagavad Gita, only verses, it takes about 1 hour. At that time, he made the entire universe as a still. That means everybody was just, they were not doing any activities. Fighting has not started. And he only at that time, Arjuna was active, Krishna was instructing him Bhagavad Gita. And this was heard by Sanjaya alone, because Vedas Bhagavan has given him his Divya Drishti, divine vision. So he could understand the Bhagavad Gita. Like that only 3 people could see, only 2 people, Arjuna and Sanjaya could directly take instructions from Krishna Paramatma. Later it was given to us through the Vyasa Bhagavan in the form of Upanishad in the great epic Mahabharata. This is the instruction of personal God in the Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of the Brahmabhuta stage, as also to increase the degree of transcendentation, Narada recommended Vyasa Bhagavan that he should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. We are only in the first canto, that too now in the 5th chapter and only 9th verse. This Bhagavatham is of 12 cantos with 18,000 verses. So in the initial stages only, before going ahead with the compilation of this Bhagavatham, Vedas Bhagavan, who is also the incarnation of Krishna Paramatma himself, has inquired and helped, sought guidance from Narada Maharshi. Since Narada Maharshi is also Sarvagnani, being part of the incarnation of Krishna Paramatma, he has recommended Vysadeva to show eagerness and repeatedly describe the path of devotional services. We might feel that whatever is told previously, again it is repeated today. But it was told by Narada Maharshi to Vedas Bhagavan himself to repeatedly tell about the devotional services. This would cure him from the gross despondency. Why this repeatedly telling means? Because in the earlier times, memory was more for all living beings, all human beings. Because this Bhagavatam can be understood only by the human beings, not by animals and birds. Not by the animals and birds. Since we have that intelligence to understand the Bhagavatam, we can repeatedly told about the devotional service. Now this about the devotional services, how to remember the God. Why to remember the God? Because earlier we have taken many lakhs of births in animals and bird life, not as a human beings. With very great difficulty, we got this human life, that too with having intelligence. No other living being having this intelligence like us. Otherwise, we are misusing the intelligence given by the God. So, to get salvation, what is salvation? Salvation means getting out of this birth and death life cycle. Like the months and weeks, they come and go one after the other. Our government's also doing every 5 years, the government will be changing. So similarly, our life also changes one after the other. As I told you earlier, the soul is different from the body. So the soul leaves this body when this body is diseased or handicapped. When it is unfit for this Atma to stay in this body, it leaves this body and goes into it immediately. The next second it leaves, it takes another body. What body? It depends upon our karma. papa or punya, bad virtues or good virtues, what we have attained by performing our duties. So, to ensure that we follow the rightful path, you be truthful in your life. Never deceive anybody or loot anybody, like that. So, and for remember the God, practicing to remember God, there are 4 ways. One is glorification of God. When you go back to your home, when the elder parents or grandparents who are unable to come over here, whatever you have heard in the satsang, you glorify them with those even Bhagavatham, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all those things. Whatever you heard, that you can repeat it to them, so that even they will have benefits from them. As well, while doing your activities, remember to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You help others. You never have your food you are on your own. It becomes only selfish this thing. You share it to somebody. You leave some food outside your house, so that some animals, birds, they come and take it. And also give it to some beggars or guests who have come at your place. Share it to your family members, have it yourself. Before doing that one, you need to offer whatever food you have prepared as a offerings to the God. It is just a gratitude. All these things are repeated, it's all devotional service. That is the reason I am telling you this one. And you need not harm any living creature. It's not just human beings, any living creatures you need not harm. Because Paramatma is staying in everybody's heart. So you have to respect each and everyone. And even Devatas, they are doing their own devotional services to Krishna by performing their duties. So you need to respect all Devatas also equally. While you do you surrender to Krishna, and chant any of his name. It's not necessary that the only Krishna in this temple has to be remembered. Any form of Krishna, any incarnation, by remembering the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and you need to remember, practice that mantra. Like these 4 types of services is devotional services. Even when you preach to others, that is also a type of devotional service itself. Like that, Vysadeva Bhagavan has, Narada Maharshi has advised, instructed Vysadeva Bhagavan to eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional services. During Treta Yuga, Rama has come as a human being, and during Dwapara Yuga, Krishna in the Goloka Vrindana has come himself as Krishna here, as a human, in the human form, but only very few people have understood him as the Supreme God and followed him. But whereas many of them, they took it as a mystic activities. It's not mystic activities, it's all transcendental activities that they did not understand. So Krishna during the Dwapara Yuga, he thought now the coming time is Kali Yuga, during when the life of span of human beings will also be reduced to 100 years. As well, their memory power will come down. So for that purpose, he himself has taken the incarnation as a devotee, not as a god but as a devotee, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about 600 to 700 years ago. So he has given, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the devotee incarnation, has given this Hare Krishna Mahamantra and advised, instructed all of us to follow, chant the Mahamantra 64 rounds on the beat, which contains 108 times. And it might take few hours, but since now we have very less time. As the time has elapsed, since we have very less time, since we have to attend to our other regular duties for earning, for existence of this living being, and our family, taking care of our family, we need to do our duty. So while doing duty, you have to chant the Mahamantra. So you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra at least 1 or 2 rounds, whatever is possible, at home or in the temple, and other time while traveling, while riding your bike or car, you can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra with beads or without beads. and it can be n number of times. So like that you keep it in practice, which can help us that in the end of our life, we may get only some fraction of a second. In that fraction of a second, if you remember the Krishna, we will be, that is the main thing to remember to Krishna at the end of that fraction of second, at the end of our life, so that we get salvation, that is liberation, moksha. We would go back to the Godhead, abode of God, and we will never return back to any of the living beings on the earth or other planets like Devatas, or so that this animal life or bird life, everything is only suffering. And in this human life also, we think that happiness is there. No, that is wrong. Happiness and suffering also, it is also like a cycle. It comes and goes. Like weeks, months, years, they come and go. Similarly, the sufferings and happiness also, they are temporary. They also come and go. So, as instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we shall chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 10 times for today and disperse for now. In the evening, we have Mahabharata in Hindi. So, please chant loudly along with me now 10 times of Hare Krishna Mahamantra before we disperse in Bhagavata class. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vysadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vysadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Please tell Hare Krishna Mahamantra loudly, please, everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Loudly, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Swasti Prabhya Parantya Nyayena Margena Mahim Maishaha Goba Shavastu Nityam Samasta Loka Sugnavavantu Kayena Vacha Manasendrivya Buddhyatpate Swabhavat Karomi Yidyat Parasmai Narayanati Sarpayami Sri Manasarvam Sarvam Sri Krishna Vastu Mangalam 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 Nitya Mangalam. Jai Sri Radha Gopinath Ki. Please tell Jai, please. Jai Sri Radha Gopinath Ki. Jai Sri Jagannath Baldar Subhadramaya Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Nasik Bhagavan Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Prahlad Maharaj Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Panchatattva Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Bhagavath Katha Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki. Jai. Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Hare Krishna.